Hello, hello, hello. Let's see. Let's see. Am I live? Am I live? Hopefully, y'all can hear me. Let me see. Let me make sure my mic is right. Mic is right. Camera is on. Put a 1 in the chat if you all can hear me. Put a 1 in the chat if you all can hear me. Let me know. 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 I was watching the playback. You all can just skip this part. I just had you all skip this part. You can get to the content. But right now, I'm just checking my levels, checking and seeing what's going on and who is in the building. Let me go to my phone. Let me see if I can see if I could check out my stream and see if I am live. Put a 1 in the chat if you can hear me. Put a 1 in the chat if you all can hear me. I'm not seeing any 1, so hopefully my audio is there. Brandon, hey, welcome, Brandon. Thank you for coming through. Thank you for coming through. And there's also welcome, Guillermo Morrison. Welcome. Thank you for putting the ones in the chat, and thank you for being the first people here. For that, you get this. Thank you for coming through. That's a good question, Brandon. I actually have a video on that. Here, let me find that for you, and maybe we can play a little bit of it. Let me see. But that's a good question because it was such a good question that I did an entire video on it. Let me find it really quickly, and then I'll put the link in the chat for you. Math. Yeah, there it is. Let me go ahead and find this. Man, I was living a whole different place when I did this video. So my background and everything is completely different. But here, let's take a look at it very quickly. Justin is in the building. Thank you for coming through, Justin, and all the others who are here. Thank you for coming through. Let's take a look at this video really quickly. Let me take a look at this video before we jump into the main content. And it is literally, the question is, do I need, and this is back to Brandon's question, do I need math to get into cybersecurity? Brandon asks, do you need to be good at math? So I think it aligns there. But let's take a look at it. I kind of want to jump because, sometimes in these, I just be talking and it could be long. If you all can see that. I'm gonna fast forward a little bit too. Again, it answers your question here, Brandon.
Hello, and welcome back to the Struggle Security YouTube channel.
Oh man,
we
what
are
color is that?
Normalizing struggling in cybersecurity. That's the tagline. And if this is your first time here, I would like to invite you to press the subscribe button and for you to hit the bell.
Fast forward. I don't know what this guy's talking about here.
Let's just jump right into it because I want to cover the question. Probably one of the most common questions.
Okay,
that I get all
so I'm
the
gonna
time
jump to the part of do I use
who are
math
outside the cybersecurity. Say all that to say, not to brag, to say I'm this math guy because I love math, right? I'm not saying that to say I'm this math guy.
Yeah, get to
the point.
I'm
saying that to say all that math I learned before, I don't use any of it in cybersecurity. Zero.
There it is. So I said I use zero.
I don't use.
So kind of a little bit of background here because I skipped forward in it. And here, let me put the link down here in the chat for this video for you, Justin. About Brandon. Do I need math? I'm gonna put the link down there for you. Put it down there a couple of times for you. And pretty much the answer is no. So a little bit of my background. I have an undergrad in electrical engineering. And electrical engineering, for all those who know, we do a lot of math. A lot of times we start off in calculus, but I started off in pre-calculus, then Calc 1, Calculus 2, differential equations, linear algebra, got into some other math. And a lot of times that is incorporated into some of our major classes like circuits, electromagnetism, and power systems analysis, and motor drives, and all those classes. So I have a lot of math in my undergrad and a lot of math in my education. Actually, it was so funny because all throughout middle school and high school, I actually went to a math camp, a math summer camp. So, like there's band camp, there's like sports camps, there's all these different types of camps. I went to math camp from probably 6th grade all the way up until 11th or 12th grade of my high school years. So I've done a lot of math over my career and a lot of math over my education. And to really directly answer your question, Brandon, no, no. I use, like it says here, zero of the math that I've learned, especially the more advanced math. I don't use it in cybersecurity. So basically, you need to be able to retain a lot of information, right? To some degree, I wouldn't even say that now, right? Because a lot of I'd even have a video on that, is to stop memorizing a whole bunch of tech facts, because the fact that we have so much access to the internet, we have so much access to so many different resources, you don't really have to retain a whole lot of information. Really, you have to, I would say for cybersecurity, you have to understand and learn concepts and be able to apply those concepts in the real world. So for example, one thing that's very popular in cybersecurity, and here, let me take this down. So I got the link there in the event you want to take a look at that. And I'm going to get to this question as well. So, but I'm going to hit this first. So for example, say for instance, when I talk about concepts, I'm thinking about things like concepts in cybersecurity that evolve around the CIA triad: confidentiality, integrity, and the availability. In many cases, what you want to do for a lot of cybersecurity roles is that organizations are trying to understand where the bad guys are coming from and really trying to understand how secure their systems, networks, devices, and assets are. So just take, for instance, like a laptop, right? So you got a laptop that you use for work, and this laptop has sensitive information on it, all types of sensitive information on it, like company data. It might have information about potential customers. It might have all types of things, right? And it's a Dell laptop here, right? One thing that you want to do if you're working in cybersecurity, you want to understand, hey, what access would the bad guys have to these laptops or my systems? So understanding the concept of things like security monitoring, right? Security hardening. So security monitoring utilize different tools in order to monitor the activities on these laptops and these systems and these networks. But then you might even understand a concept like hardening, system hardening or device hardening, where you're applying all types of patches and controls to these laptops, whether it's a Windows operating system, Linux, or Mac OS, in order to make sure that these things are secure from the latest and greatest threats out there. So I wouldn't say it's so much of retaining and memorizing information. It's more of understanding security concepts in order to keep organizations, systems, assets, networks secure from the bad guys. Hopefully that makes a lot of sense there, but wanted to kind of break it down in that way. This is another question. Okay, it says, do you think that cybersecurity formal education through university will ever catch up with informal learning through search, try, hack me, etc.? You know, we've been seeing a lot of this evolution here too, as it concerns formal education versus things like formal education versus things like certs and boot camps and things like try hack me. I think we've been seeing the melding of these concepts. When you look at universities, I don't know if you ever heard of Western Governors University. I'm just pulling it up now. I'm going to look at some of their cybersecurity curriculum. And one thing that you'll see is that part of some of their cybersecurity degrees, they incorporate these certifications as a part of their curriculum. So when you're asking the question of, do you think that they will catch up to each other? I think that there are a lot of, like in this current form, a lot of it is melding. A lot of it is coming together at this point. So you will see part of a lot of degree programs, whether it's in community college or even within university settings, you'll see that certifications and trainings are starting to be hand in hand with these formal educations. So I think that they're actually starting to come together a bit more. Okay, Brandon. Okay, dope. I'm happy I answered that for you. But let me go ahead and do the intro thing before we jump into the content. Here, let me find it. And this is the intro stuff coming up now. Hello, hello, and welcome everybody to Struggle Security, where we are normalizing struggling in cybersecurity. And pretty much that whole concept is recognizing that it's not all easy, right? It's not all simple. Things are, you don't just get things overnight, but a lot of times you got to struggle to the top. And really, that's one of the purposes of my channel is to really help individuals alleviate some of those struggles, to really try to understand concepts and ideas and being able to kind of get over those hurdles to get where you desire to be in cybersecurity. Thank you all for being here. We were answering some questions earlier, but yeah, we want to get into the subject now. And as you see scrolling across the bottom of your screen, here, let me make it not scrolling. Let me make it stat. Let's see how I can change that. Not scrolling and save, and we're going to just show it. The topic is stagnation versus growth. Stagnation. Let me put this over on this side. Stagnation versus growth in cybersecurity. What does that mean? What are we talking about here? This all came from some conversations that I've been having in the real world. It's interesting because so I was at the gym yesterday playing basketball, getting some cardio in, and also, just getting a workout in yesterday evening. And it was just interesting. I was having so it can be petty. It can be petty. It's a very small type of situation. But what was happening was that the gym closes at 8 o'clock p.m. on the weekends, right? 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern time on the weekends. And what happened was it's this janitor that comes in all the time. And there's nothing wrong with being a janitor. There's nothing wrong with that occupation or anything. Just stating the facts here. The janitor always comes in on the weekends and he always tries to close down the gym, the basketball gym, earlier than the time there is for it to close. So he'll be like he'll try to close down the gym at 7:30. And it's because he said, I don't get paid after 8 o'clock. So y'all got to get out of here so I can clean it. And I'm like, that's not what my membership pays for, right? My membership pays for me to be able to access this gym until 8 o'clock. Again, like I mentioned, it's small. But, having a new baby, having family and everything at home, I really try to prioritize and set aside time to do certain things like working out. So I need that 30 minutes. I need all my time at the gym because I want to stay healthy and everything. So anyway, getting back to me and this gentleman, the facilities manager there, we would just go back and forth because he's just trying to exert some type of power that he really doesn't have. He's trying to exert some type of power to close down the gym when I've spoken to management. I've spoken to the people who work there and manage the day-to-day operations. And they said, well, as long as you're out by 8 o'clock, as long as you're out by the time it closes, then there's not an issue. But he tries to exert some type of authority and some power. And it's like, we had these conversations every week, but it goes nowhere, right? And it's like, why don't you try to understand what the issue is? Why don't you try to understand and kind of growing your ideas and your knowledge and so that you can really, progress past where you currently are. So, it kind of is like a generational thing because then he gets to like, you're not respectful. You don't respect your elders. You ain't nothing but a kid. I'm like, I'm not a kid, sir. And there's policies and standards. Again, like I mentioned, a small thing, but I think it kind of drew my mind towards, man, this guy's stuck. This guy is stuck. He's not understanding customer relationships. He's not understanding the way that this whole thing is going. And he doesn't recognize that he has way less power to close the gym than he really thinks he has. And that kind of drew my mind to stagnation versus growth. And I think that when I see this man, when I see kind of where his mindset is, he keeps kind of going back and forth on the same stuff. And I'm like, like, how does this apply to my career field? I'm kind of melding some ideas here, right? But it kind of drew my mind towards stagnation versus growth because I'm like, so like, how does that apply to cybersecurity? And I have several different concepts and ideas here where we're talking about it. And I have like 3 different areas. I have stagnation when it concerns cybersecurity. So one, stagnation versus growth as it concerns certifications, jobs, and then kind of the one or like the rounding one, the tech seniority versus tech seniority and advice. So let's start with the first one. Let's start with the first one. Talk about certification, and I kind of break it down into like a stagnation, like examples of certifications in stagnation, examples of certifications in growth. So starting with the first one, stagnations. So being stagnant or like in the same place, not moving, not growing, not progressing. When I think about that in certification, stagnation looks like certification chasing for but with really not any purpose behind it. Is that makes if that's making sense to you? Individuals going after this cert and that cert and this cert and that cert for no real reason other than things like recognition or some type of empty credentialing to say, hey, I'm a subject matter in this, or I am a professional, I'm an expert here, I'm an expert there because I got all these certifications. When it really isn't getting you to any type of point, it's not getting you to any type of goal. I mean, I see that so often, right? Sometimes I even see it in the form of people on LinkedIn, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but you can. I don't know. I don't know. I kind of see it where people will put their name, and then after it, put all these certification titles or certification things after their name, as if these are like doctor degrees or like master's degrees or something, or some type of official, like an Esquire or something at the end of their names. When really it doesn't mean too much, right? So just chasing certs for certs, I guess the purpose of just getting them to look like you're something. I think that's a sign of stagnation as it concerns certifications, because there's no real purpose. Now growth when acquiring certs looks like this. It looks like acquiring trainings and certifications that will get you to the goal you desire. So say, for instance, you're looking to be a penetration tester or somebody who does offensive cybersecurity services, right? You don't want to just keep on getting a whole bunch of, say, for instance, you're getting a whole bunch of Splunk certs. So Splunk is a SIEM, a popular SIEM, security incident and event management system. Why would you be getting a whole bunch of Splunk certs or Palo Alto certs? Palo Alto was another cybersecurity provider. They're very popular for their firewalls. You're getting a whole bunch of Splunk or Palo Alto certifications, or you might jump over into Juniper or Checkpoint certifications, or even a whole bunch of Cisco certifications, right? So why are you getting these product certifications when you're looking to go in the offensive security, I guess, pathway? Typically, you might get maybe like a security plus, maybe a network plus or something. And then you might jump into pen test plus if you're looking at going the CompTIA route. Or then you might go to the EJPT. That's a junior penetration testing certification, which gives you some entry level type of understanding of penetration testing. Then you might kind of bump it up, right? You might go to, I don't know, you might go to an OSCP, right? That might take more time to acquire, but that's a very good cert. Or a red team operator certification. That's another offensive certification, right? That's like growth, right? You're moving. The fact that your goal is to get more into offensive cybersecurity, and you're getting certs that align with that rather than getting certs that are all outside of that, I think that's a sign of growth in comparison to that stagnation for getting certs for certs purposes. What do you all think? Feel free to throw some of your ideas down there in the chat. I'll recognize them, and maybe we'll jump into more conversation about that. But that's kind of how I see it as it concerns certs. I think you're stagnant when you're just cert chasing to be looked at as some type of subject matter expert or somebody that's big in the industry. In comparison to if you're growing, you're getting certs strategically. You're getting certs that will get you to the goal that you desire to get to, rather than just getting a whole bunch of certs. Even this reminds me of an example. I used to work as a contractor for a large utility organization. Let me just say that. And one thing that they would do is that they had a board. They had a board for everybody who was in like the cybersecurity group. They had a board with everybody's name on it. And then they had stickers for every single certification that people have received. And pretty much the way that they ranked each other in this group, in this organization. They ranked each other based upon who had what certs and who had what, right? And it's like, you're like, that's not like, what are you doing? What are you doing to impact the bottom line of the organization? Are you developing something? Are you gaining skills in this particular, like just having a cert does not mean that you've gained a skill in a certain area. It means that you were able to pass a test to display maybe some level of understanding or knowledge of a subject matter. But that doesn't mean that you are a subject matter expert. That doesn't mean that you are ranked higher or lower than somebody. So, that's also a part of where it came from. Welcome, Dollar Watch. She says, I'm getting some grants to pay for certs. Definitely, man. Definitely. And again, hopefully this isn't mask, or this isn't seen as like cert dissing or anything. I think certs are very valuable. It really helps you to get, just like I mentioned, that base level understanding or that understanding of whatever that subject matter is. But those certs should have an end. Those certs should be leading to a particular goal. So I do want to contextualize it with that for sure. Okay. Again, throw something in the chat if you all have something else to say about that. Even if you disagree, feel free to disagree too. Right? I'm cool with disagreeing, and then we can talk about it. Yeah, we could definitely have more conversation about it. The next one is jobs. So we talked about certs, what stagnation, what I believe stagnation looks like for certs, what stagnation looks like for or growth looks like for certifications. Now we're jumping to jobs, right? So, and I get this, and I see this so often. I have a couple of sentences written out here, so I'm just going to read this one. I said, stagnation is staying at the same dead-end job for years and years, even though you understand that you will no longer be challenged nor progress to your career goals. Right? Staying at the same dead-end job forever, not growing, not developing, not doing anything beyond what you've been doing. You might have just been the person at the level one help desk or level 2 help desk. You've just been answering tickets. Not that that's a bad thing, but if you've been doing that for 10 or 15 years, I mean, where do you think you're going here? You're being stagnant. You're definitely being stagnant. You're doing the same thing. And that's something that I realized in my first job out of college. I was working as a wire harness design engineer, right? I was working for a tier 1 supplier for Ford Motor Company, which is pretty much like a stag augmentation pretty much for Ford. And one thing that we were doing, or that I was doing, and I was recognizing, is that the same thing that I was doing for whatever, like a year and a half or something, was the same thing that people 10 or 15 years my senior were doing. There was not really any growth or diversity of work. You're not growing in your capabilities or anything. They were doing the same thing that I was doing. They were just doing it for longer. And I'm like, yeah, like I'm not trying to be them. I would see people in the cubicle. I'm like, I'm not trying to be those people over there. I'm not trying to be here for the entirety of my career doing the same thing. You know, I look for training opportunities. I look for growing opportunities. I look for something that would give me more experience there. And I'm like, yo, I'm not getting anything. I'm not seeing anything. And these guys are doing the same job, the dead-end job for years. So stagnation in jobs, I think, means one example is staying in the same role, staying in the same job for years upon years and not really growing or developing your skill sets. Welcome, Rich. Welcome. Thank you for coming through, man. Thank you for coming through. Absolutely. Thank you. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you for coming through. We're just talking about growth and stagnation in cybersecurity, and I'm kind of giving some examples. Pretty much for every subject, I'm like, this is what stagnation looks like in my opinion, and then this is what growth looks like. So we're on the stagnation for jobs right now. So the second, but I do think I want to contextualize that, right? So stagnation, one example I gave was being at a dead-end job for years and years and you're not growing. But I think stagnation also has another look for jobs. Stagnation, I think, is also jumping from job to job where you're moving laterally with little pay increase and you're burning bridges and leaving projects and assignments unfinished. That's a lot to unpack there. Let's just start from the beginning. It's going to job and you're moving laterally. When I say you're going from job to job moving laterally, you're literally going from one job to another job with the same role. You're working in the same position. So say, for instance, you're a security analyst at one place. You move over and go to a security analyst at the second place. And then you jump over again, go to another security analyst role. And typically what happens when you move laterally, you aren't really getting pay increases unless you're moving geographically or with an organization that just pays more. But many times, if you're moving laterally, you're moving to the same role within different organizations, and you're not really getting a lot of pay increase. That doesn't look like growth. That looks like stagnation still. What you're also doing in some cases is that you're burning bridges. You just keep leaving jobs where you're just leaving. You start to get a reputation as a job hopper. Now, a job hopper is interesting because even that concept is funny, because being a job hopper can have its advantages, but it can also have its disadvantages. Going from job to job, say for instance, you're there for like you've done 3 different jobs. You've been in 3 different jobs and you've been each place less than 6 months or so, right? that can show organizations that, hey, we can't hold on to this person. And, you know, maybe there's different conditions. Maybe you found the necessity to do that. No shame in that. No problems there. But it also does come with some organizations which might have maybe an older leadership style that don't really value that. That's something that needs to be considered. So they might consider you a job hopper, and they might consider that you're burning bridges. And I think the way that you burn bridges in going from job to job is that you're leaving projects and assignments unfinished. Imagine you come into a organization and you have a specific skill set that no one else in that organization has. Say, for instance, you know how to, I don't know, configure security hardening on network devices like Cisco devices. Say, for instance, you have that capability, right? But nobody else in that organization has it. Say, for instance, you started a project and then you're starting to configure everything, you're starting to get everything together, but then you just want to leave. You just decide, hey, I'm out of here. That can really work to burn a bridge, because you're leaving the organization in a position where they're more vulnerable than they were before, because you have left an unfinished project, an unfinished assignment. You might not give that 2 weeks notice. You don't have to give a 2 weeks notice. It's typically just considerate from a professional world. But you know, if you're just leaving work and projects unfinished, going from job to job to job, you can really start to develop a reputation if it's within a certain geography or certain organization or niche thing, right? So, you know, you just need to be cognizant of that. So the one that I'm looking at, stagnation, is also moving from job to job, moving laterally with little pay increase, and also leaving projects and assignments unfinished, which might result in you getting a reputation as a job hopper, and you could burn some bridges. So I think that's stagnation too, to some degree. Welcome, Tech Xavier. He says, hello, everyone. Hope you all are having a good weekend. You all should definitely check out Tech Xavier's channel. He does a lot of studying on his channel. He even has like live study sessions, and he kind of goes over a lot of what's happening within his own cybersecurity journey or his own tech career journey. So yeah, definitely check out Tech Xavier's channel. And thank you for being here. And thanks for coming through, man. We are talking about growth versus stagnation. Growth versus stagnation. Now, what's the growth when I talk about jobs? So growth, when I look at it, is setting clear goals for why you have chosen a particular job or a particular role, and mapping out intended accomplishable outcomes before moving to the next role. So I don't think it's anything wrong with moving from one organization to another organization, as long as you have found that, hey, I've accomplished what I needed to accomplish here. I had a goal of going in here and doing this, and I've done that. Because many times when you look at job postings, or when you look at your LinkedIn posts or LinkedIn pages, you want to start to write things not only about job duties, but what you have accomplished before you left that organization. I kind of had to learn that kind of going down the line, where I'm like, okay, if I'm writing a resume, if I'm putting something on my LinkedIn, I don't only just want to put job responsibilities, because I'm pretty much copy and pasting the responsibilities that I've done or the responsibilities that I had in that job, which is cool. But you also want to say, hey, this is what I was able to accomplish. So I think growth is having those accomplishment bullets before you leave somewhere. And I know one thing that I've done is that I know, example, when I was with one organization, I work as a security architect, a network security architect there. And we had got acquired. And one thing that had happened is that I had started to do penetration testing on some of their devices, their electrical equipment devices. So they would have like different cycles where they would have new releases of web applications, new releases of equipment, new releases of infrastructure. And they wanted to understand the security vulnerabilities before they would release the new things to the customers. So this will be Rev 1, Rev 2, Rev 3. So my responsibility was to do penetration testing on those. But not only that, is that I would also need to develop some type of program for anybody else that would be coming to the organization, to be able to say, hey, this is the standard, this is the methodology that we use to be able to test for vulnerabilities here before they're released to the customer. So one thing that I have as a bullet is that, hey, I developed a penetration testing program for electrical equipment and devices for this organization that was never there before. So, you know, that can be seen as, hey, somebody that can develop programs, somebody that can
innovate and bring something new to an organization, or just even building up a program from bottom to the top. So, I was able to do that even before I left. It was interesting because, I was having offers and I was having interviews. I was having all types of interests from other organizations around the industry, even before I had accomplished that goal with that organization. But I chose to say, okay, I'm gonna stay here until I finish these tests. I'm gonna stay here until I finish developing this program before I leave. So I think that that's something that definitely is shown as something that's growth. Growth is setting clear goals for why you have chosen to be at a job before leaving, right? Before you leave, not just leaving projects and things half done, half accomplished, that your output of work is very evident and seen through you being there. And that many times really what you want to do is that you want to create impact, and you want to show that, hey, because I was here, things were better. Because I was here, I changed some things. Because I was here, I was able to create this type of impact and I was able to accomplish my goals. That's something that I think that is more growth there when you're looking at jobs, not just moving from role to role to role, like I said, burning bridges, or even just staying. Staying can be looked at as stagnant, definitely. So, okay, that's the second one. If you guys have any comments about that, I'm moving on to the third one. And this might be more one of my quicker streams. But if you guys have any comments or any questions, feel free to put them down there within the chat, and I'll address those, because right after I go out over this last one, I'll just open it up for question and answer if you guys have any questions, and then we can talk a little bit more. So the last one that I have is, and I think that this kind of aligns with my story initially, right? Tech seniority and advice giving. Tech seniority and advice giving. Man, I run into this so often. It's interesting because a lot of people consider me to be, so I've been, post, been in cybersecurity, maybe 8, 9 years now, maybe going on 10 coming up, And a lot of people still are like, oh yeah, okay, you're like mid career kind of, you're still like, you're in it, but you're still not like an OG. Right, you still got a lot to learn, type of thing. And it's just interesting because when I look at stagnation for that subject matter, stagnation is believing that you're right because of how long you've been doing something. Believing that you're right because of how long you've been doing something. And I think that that's such a weak measure of right and wrong, because although experience is very important, being in the field for 20, 30, 40 plus years, is that it definitely shows a level of expertise and your ability to understand kind of the trends and everything. But just because you've been doing something for a long time is not the only measure of if you're right or wrong. I think that it can bring on blind spots. Blind spots can arise if different perspectives aren't considered. And a lot of people, I've seen this a lot. A lot of people go at this thing like the old way is the right way. The old way is the best way. The way that we've been doing it is the best way. And I think that that's such closed-minded, and it's so it is not lend towards growth. It's very stagnant in mindsets and perspectives. Oh, what's good? Hey, what's good, Macbone? Welcome to the chat, man. Welcome to the chat, man. We just talking about growth and stagnation here, but for being here, you get one of these. Thank you for coming here, man. Salute to you. So growth and stagnation. So my thing is that just because you have the experience, just because you've been here a long time, does not mean that you are right about something. And I think that lends towards being stagnant in your mindset. It's thinking that nobody, just because somebody has a certain years of experience that are less than mine, a lot of times people think that, hey, that means that they're less right. I've heard it in certain content creation, right? My channel is relatively new, I guess, as it concerns the YouTube, these YouTube streets. And it's very interesting because people will say, well, you only been doing it for about a year. What do you know about content creation? Or people would say, they're hot right now, but they're probably gonna burn out eventually or something. Like just kind of hating because of, I don't know, because people have relative success and others have had more success than others. for content creation in this tech, I guess, YouTube space. So I don't think it's any reason to try to try to, I guess, rationalize someone's success or someone's success in their videos, but rather, just because you've been doing it longer don't mean that you're going to be more successful. Straight up, like, you're not better because you've been doing it longer. Like, stop it. Tech Xavier says, I agree with that completely. We've always done it that way. Is a limiting phrase for an individual, team, or organization. Absolutely, it's definitely limiting. It's definitely limiting because you can really miss out on some stuff. Like, I found myself listening to people. Like, a lot of times within my organization, we heavily encourage building up our network. So we'll have like these 30 minutes, 15 to 30-minute just check-ins with individuals within different parts of the organizations. We'll just put something on somebody's calendar, and then we'll just have time to kind of talk about our background, talk about things that we've done. I'll just at times pick their brain and say, hey, what are you looking at doing? Or what interesting thing are you doing? Or what ideas do you have that you think that can help to progress our practice? It's very important to really try to understand what people are going through now, right? Rather than what everybody has been going through before. I think in the last live stream, we had a conversation, and I was kind of giving out, hey, that these entry-level cybersecurity roles exist. And a young man, he had came into the chat and said, hey, I just got one of these cybersecurity analyst roles, these entry-level cybersecurity analyst roles, and this is my perspective, right? Just because he's just got an entry-level role does not mean that he doesn't have a perspective that is valuable in cybersecurity. And I think that many people need to start to document and tell about their stories rather than only relying on the 15, 20, 30-year quote-unquote veterans. Again, nothing wrong with experience. Experience is amazing, right? Many times experience can help you get into the door more than certifications or formal education. But at the same time, experience is not it. Experience is not it. And I've heard a lot of advice given by, a lot of bad advice given by people who are the quote unquote experience. Welcome, Deacon Dave. Welcome. Andrew Trohai, and welcome to the chat as well. It says 20 years of experience versus 1 year repeated 20 times. Okay, listen, that's an idea. That's an idea. Is it 20 years of progressive experience? Are you growing over those 20 years? Or have you been doing the same thing? Like you mentioned, the 1 year repeated 20 times. Have you been doing the same thing over and over and over and over again? No progression, no development. You haven't been developing anything or impacting anything, creating anything new, innovating anything. You've just been doing the same old thing. Yeah, I think that is that 1 year repeated 20 times. I agree with that. That's something very interesting to consider. Because just because you've been doing it for 20 years doesn't mean that you've been doing it right. Doesn't mean that you've been doing different things within 20 years. I know something that I really love about consulting is that in consulting, especially in cybersecurity consulting, you are doing a lot of different types of services. I know that when I first came in, when I first started doing consulting in cybersecurity, my first engagement was a penetration test on a live environment. Literally, me, keyboard, customer, me, my laptop, customer, and vulnerabilities in the network. That's all it was. And pretty much they were saying, here, go find the bad. That was my first engagement. And then to last year, one of my engagements was in cybersecurity consulting was helping an organization understanding their cybersecurity frameworks for implementing an IoT coffee maker into their networks, an Internet of Things coffee maker into their stores, like having to evaluate the security controls, understanding best practices and methodologies and standards that are out there, working with a team in order to develop some type of architecture, evaluating their current architecture and understanding, hey, where would you put this? What type of VLANing and segmentation would you implement in the environment? Understanding all the stakeholders and even understanding the security measures that the manufacturer of the IoT coffee maker, it's so different, right? That was year one to some progressiveness where I'm looking at implementing something and helping a customer implement something for a product that they're introducing into their environment. I mean, completely different, right? That's not doing the same thing 20 years over and over again. And nothing wrong with being a penetration tester and keep on doing that type of service over and over again. But I think that my experience has evolved. That from that 1 year, I'm doing something completely different and even progressing in my experience over multiple years. So I think it's very important. I think it's very important, but that's a good consideration. Tex Xavier says, how has your teaching experience helped you mentor young or new cybersecurity professionals? I'm considering doing some part-time instruction on the weekends to help me communicate with new teammates. Man, that's a very good question. I think that's also something that has grown. So when you talk about teaching experience, I actually had started teaching in high school. So when I mentioned earlier, I was doing math camps every single summer. I used to be a part of this organization called the Wayne State Math Corps here in Detroit, Michigan. And in the Math Corps, what happens is that the people who are in high school help to teach math concepts and ideas to kids who are in middle school. So I was teaching algebra. I was helping to teach algebra and exponents and geometry to individuals who were very like 6th and 7th graders as a ninth grader. So I started there, right? And then that kind of developed opportunities. And I was actually teaching for one of my firms that I worked for when organization called Mandia. So one thing that we do is that we teach, I did teach when I was there, cybersecurity concepts. So we would have these fundamentals classes that I taught with. And that's kind of evolved into me speaking at many conferences. So to answer your question, teaching experience has been extremely helpful in me communicating technical ideas to people who are newer within cybersecurity. So helping to break down the concepts kind of one by one. If you see in some of my videos, I really aim to do that, right? Breaking down more technical ideas, technical concepts into kind of more bite-sized and kind of understandable, kind of with layman's terms there. So I think it definitely has helped me by just doing it, right? You say I'm considering doing some part-time work. I think that's huge. There are many like community colleges that have adjunct professor type of roles for individuals to teach cybersecurity. There are even like boot camp organizations where you can work there. I think it's good. I think it's something that's good. Or just even speaking at conferences. So B-Sides is a very popular conference. I spoke about that in one of the live streams, maybe 2 live streams or so ago. B-Sides is a very popular cybersecurity conference for local areas. But you can always apply to those. You can always apply to B-Sides. So yeah, I think it would be a very good consideration to help with that. Akin, welcome Akin, and Game Over, welcome to the chat, y'all. Welcome to the chat.
That's
okay. So we talked about the stagnation as it concerns the seniority and giving advice, right? Let's see. Growth. Let's talk about growth. I think growth is being malleable and inclusive of ideas that differ from your own, and understanding that your seniority isn't the only factor in solving problems. When you talk about being malleable or flexible, I think it's very important for senior people to have that quality more than anybody else. When you are the leader or the tech lead of a team or organization, I think your ability to take in ideas that differ from your own need to be more advanced as well, more advanced than even the years that you've been in the field. It's very important to consider things that might push up against your ideas or your thoughts. I don't think so. This is another thing that I think is interesting. Disagreements in many cases is considered as disrespect. Because I don't agree with your idea, I'm being disrespectful towards you. Or because you don't agree with me, you're being disrespectful to me. Where I think that disagreements or disagreeing about ideas and a way to come to a solution, I think that should be seen more as an opportunity to come to some middle ground. Because many times, one thing that I found is that embracing, I guess, disagreeable situations, it gives an opportunity to find some type of middle ground. And a lot of times, a little bit of what that other person is saying and a little bit of what I'm saying, if you put those things together, those can really come up to the real solution. Is that when you take 2 ideas that might differ in some ways and you combine them, is typically will give you more of a perspective and a more broader range of considerations in solving a problem. Hopefully that makes sense. So I think that those disagreements or those issues should be seen as opportunities more than disrespect, or you're dissing me, or you're having a problem with me because you don't agree with my idea. So, I think that that's very important to do when it concerns growth. If you're growing in your tech seniority, if you're growing in your giving advice, it's very important for you to be able to accept differences of opinions and ideas and to factor them all into solving a problem. Sometimes some ideas are not right? But it needs to be backed up. No matter how many years of experience or seniority you have, anything that you're doing needs to be backed up with facts, figures, things that are solid. You can't just say I'm right because I'm more experienced. So I don't mean to beat a dead horse, but I think that is what that looks like. So stagnation is believing you're right just because of how much experience you have. And I think that growth is being malleable and inclusive of ideas that differ from your own. And I think that that kind of combined all together would definitely assist in you kind of growing and not being stagnant in where you are. So we covered several things. I see that there's some new people. What's good, Def Racer? You are definitely always welcome here. Welcome here. And I was just kind of going over growth versus stagnation in like a career field. And I mean, Def Racer sees me other places on YouTube. I think even in content creation. I mean, I think growth or stagnation in content creation looks like the same thing I was just talking about. Because I've been on YouTube, because I've had this channel for all these years, then I have the right answer. But are you growing? But are you developing? Has anything about your channel changed? Has anything about your content gone with where the trends of YouTube have went? And that's the thing about YouTube. YouTube is all about trends. I think that probably my most successful, well, not probably, but my most successful video has been based upon a trend. So Chat GPT, right? Chat GPT, it's pretty much buzzing all around YouTube right now. It's buzzing all around YouTube. And the thing about it is that, man, I think that video almost has 100,000 views. I don't know. Let me check it really quickly. It almost has 100,000 views. Oh, it actually has crossed 100,000, 101,000 views. And I posted that a month ago. And, I think that that's important when you're talking about growth. You need to grow in your content. You need to grow in your content. You think it's funny because Def Racer knows exactly what I'm talking about. Casual Economist, let's see. Casual Economist, welcome. Maddox, welcome to the chat. And just like you said, Chat GPT is everywhere. Everybody's talking about it in tech. So to go and say, hey, I'm just gonna hey, there's another channel. There's another channel on YouTube that they've been doing the same thing for 3 or 4 years. All they do is read articles. They read articles that they find, I don't know, on the internet about tech things. But then they say that, hey, people would rather talk about this other thing rather than talking about what we're talking about. But you're not talking about anything that people are trying to understand. I've even watched a video. I don't know if you all have seen this, but Starlink actually just released in Africa. So Starlink is, and you know exactly what I'm talking. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Maddox said, oh yeah, Cape is dope. Cape is dope. We can get into that, Maddox. Yeah, almost finished the Cape room in I thought it was on Hack the Bot. No, try Hack Me. Got all the answers, just dragging it out my day-to-day. Yeah, that's a very good tool. Cape is very good. Another one after you finish Cape is also Canva. Canva is another dope tool too. I've been using Canva and Cape. So Canva uses PowerShell scripts in order to do some things that are very similar to Cape. And one thing about PowerShell is that it has a non-interactive shell or non-interactive session. So if you're trying to be more stealthy in your if you're trying to be more stealthy in your forensics and your collection, and where you're not trying to give the bad guys the information to say, oh, they're starting to collect forensics from this device. Canva is also another good one there. I think Cape uses several different tools that can be seen. Like if the bad guy is there, they can see that, hey, like somebody's collecting information here. I got to get back to you on that. But yeah, Cape is a dope tool for sure. Yeah, and Defration know exactly what I'm talking about. I was looking at a channel. Let me see. Starlink. So for those who don't know, SpaceX is a tool, or SpaceX just released. Is it SpaceX or who released Starlink? Here, let me find this video because I was just watching it the other day. Here we go. So this is something that's very popular now. So when you're talking about things that are popular on YouTube and being successful on the YouTube algorithm and the content, this is a video by Fiaso Fosudo. I think he's a Nigerian dude. Here, actually, let me go ahead and subscribe. He's a Nigerian guy. Has almost 500,000 or so subscribers. When you look at the content that he's putting out, it's very pertinent to what's happening right now within the tech industry. In this one, he does a full review of the Starlink. So Starlink is a technology that is released by one of the Elon Musk companies, and they're literally satellites that provide internet to all different parts of the world, remote places in the world. And you can buy the Starlink product, and he goes over some of the technology here, where you can buy. Let me see if I can get so it's like this tool here where you can set everything up, and he literally does a tutorial for setting up Starlink. And again, like it was released in Africa, so something that's recent, that's happening. So Chat GPT, Starlink, the artificial intelligence race, and making the content interesting and something that applies to the people who are listening. I think that's aligned with what makes people successful on YouTube, rather than just saying you should watch my material, you should watch my content just because I don't know, because I know what I'm talking about. No, this is YouTube. You have to follow the trends. So I think that's another thing that shows stagnation. It's a lot of stagnant YouTube channels. It's a lot of stagnant content, and not to say that I'm just so cutting edge or whatnot, but I try. A lot of people are stuck in the mindset to say that you need to listen to me because you need to listen to me, without really giving them a bang for their buck, a return on investment, a return for my watch time hours. I'm not about to listen to you reading articles all day. And then I'm not about to listen to that. I can read articles myself. I'm not about to listen to you go over what you like panel pontificating as if you are some subject matter expert in something that you don't even really have experience in. Sometimes people just want people to listen to them just because they want them to listen to them. So, I don't mean to go off, but that's the thing. Like you have to be relevant to the people who are listening to your content. It has to be relative, or it has to be relevant, and it also has to be very has to be impactful to the people. Has to be definitely impactful to the people. Def Racer is laughing. He says, on it, building up my blue team tools. Absolutely. Blue team tools are dope. Blue team tools are super dope, man. And I think a lot of times those blue team tools can help you even in offensive services. I know there's something that I've done more recently when I'm doing offensive cybersecurity services. Something that I use, a blue team tool that I use very often, is like Wireshark. Because one thing that I try to do when I'm doing offensive cybersecurity services is I try to be as quiet as possible. So if I'm trying to do, say for instance, some domain enumeration, if I'm enumerating what devices are there on the system, like IP addresses, I'm not going to just run like a tool like Crack Map Exec, which is a very popular tool. Because if you run like try this, Maddox, run Crack Map Exec, and then also run Wireshark that's capturing on the same interface, and then watch how loud that thing is. It is so loud. It throws so many different packets, and it just throws all these different all this different traffic all across the network, where any SIM that's worth any SIM that's worth anything will be able to pick up on that activity. So, and that's one thing about offensive cybersecurity services, is that you don't want to be detected. You're not looking to be detected by the security monitoring tools. So blue team tools combined with red team tools, I think that's a super duper cool like little experiment to do, to really test about the quietness and the detection mechanisms of those environments. And there we go, right? That's purple team. That is purple teaming. But back to the idea of relevancy, that's very important. Ayo says And welcome, Ayo. He says, you got my eyes on the CYSA plus and the Blue Team Level 1. I've heard very good things about Blue Team Level 1. That might be something that I do, really. I might do like an evaluation because I don't have that certification. I do not have the Blue Team Level 1, but I know I do a lot of those type of services. I gotta check it out. I might do, maybe that'll be something that we do in the next live stream, is that we can do a deep dive and evaluate the Blue Team Level 1. So, that's another thing, right? Listening to your audience. That's very important. Listen to your audience about the content that you create rather than being in some kind of having tunnel vision to say they need to listen to this. This is something that people that are listening to me are going through right now. So, hey, that is scheduled for the next one. When I'm looking at Blue Team Level 1, I'm looking at the training now. I might even go for the training myself and tell you all what my experience has been. Yeah, this actually looks like something that I might look into. Let's take a look at it really, really quickly. So Blue Team Level 1. So this is the website. It's on securityblue.team. Cool. It says we train technical cybersecurity or cyber defenders. That's cool. That's cool. So this looks like some of the information that they actually do in the training. Let me show you. Let me zoom in here for your viewing pleasure. So, okay, this might be something real dope for people who are entry level, right? So check it out. It says Blue Team Level 1 is designed primarily for individuals that are new to the industry or in junior positions that want to land a job or progress to a mid-level role. Okay, so some things that it focuses on is phishing analysis. Many times people who are newer to like the SOC, like an entry-level security operations center analyst, they are looking at a lot of phishing emails, because phishing emails is like the primary way for bad guys to get into networks, organizations and networks. Threat intelligence, that's important too. Your threat intelligence is telling you about what the potential activities are of the bad guys. So integrating that into a cybersecurity program is extremely important. Digital forensics, understanding the footprints and the breadcrumbs of where the bad guys have left things on systems can really help you to identify where the bad has happened. I always talk about SIMs, security incident event management systems. Yep. And incident response. When the bad guys have gotten in, what are you going to do? So, yeah, I think the next one, we're going to do a deep dive into the Blue Team Level 1 certification. Okay. And look like they didn't train defenders from everywhere, from literally everywhere. Okay. This looks kind of lit. Okay. We're going to get into this. Yeah, we definitely going to get into this next time. So, yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Ayo. Definitely appreciate that. Yeah, we're going to take a look at that probably in the next stream. Definitely in the next stream. Yeah, game over. You were mentioning about Elon Musk. Yeah, one of his companies. But yeah, the Starlink is lit. Like, it's helping to provide internet to remote places. Now, not a lot of people trust Elon Musk and his companies and everything. But hey, some people are finding value in it. So because that's something recent, because I think it was just released in Nigeria, but it's also in Rwanda too. So that's one of the issues that has happened. Not a lot of remote places in the world have access to internet. So having these satellites, these low orbiting satellites revolve around the world, that's providing satellite to all these different places, that's a solution. That's something that's very relevant to viewers and people on YouTube. And just like I mentioned, like that'll draw on the views. This individual, I think that hundreds of thousands of views right now. So, just a point. So just because you think people should listen to your content just for content's sake is a no. Like you need to talk about relevant stuff for Ukraine to use it for game over. Watch out. Hey, listen. It's a lot of cyber warfare happening today. That's actually, I think, one of my second most viewed videos. When at the height of the Ukrainian-Russian war, I went over some threat intelligence for some hacking activity that was happening between Russia and Ukraine, that Russia was hacking the electrical grid for a lot of the Ukrainian systems. They even had taken over a nuclear plant. They had gotten access to those environments. So, that was another thing that was very relevant to what was happening. So being relevant, being informative, and giving your viewers some return on investment for them watching your content is very important. So, and it's not just because of how long you've been in tech, how long you've been covering the material. It has to apply to the people that you're communicating to. Cal Movo, welcome. It says, sup gang, just landed my first cybersecurity job. SOC 1, let's go at 23. What do you think I should be focusing on in the first coming weeks? Listen. Man, I almost want to do a whole stream just about that. but I had to get off, man. You know what? I'm about to start that one. I'm gonna start a blue team level 1 and then we are covering that the next time during the next stream. I'm gonna try to go live either Monday or Tuesday. Monday or Tuesday. So Cal, come back on Monday or Tuesday, and that's gonna be the conversation. We're gonna talk about what to do, exactly what you're saying, what to do on your first couple of weeks or first week in your cybersecurity analyst role. What are some things that you can do for you to set up for success? We are going to talk about that. We are definitely going to talk about that. I'm pausing. What you mean? What you mean? Oh, did I say something crazy? I said a pause moment. I don't know. I have to watch it back. But we're definitely going to check out. Oh, you said that you're paused. Is it my signal? I think my signal was good. It said it is good. Okay. From the knock to sock 2023. Let's go. Knock to sock. We're gonna talk. Listen, we're gonna talk about this, and we're gonna talk about this because I think that this blue team level 1 certification, this looks like it's something really good, or even the concepts are things that are really good for an entry-level sock role. So we're gonna talk about it. We're definitely gonna talk about it. Tech Xavier said you definitely have to have a service delivery mindset when making content. It doesn't have to be highly produced, but must speak to the absolute 100%. It needs to speak to the need of the people who are listening to your content. And that's the major reason for me doing these live streams is for me to connect with you all, because you all help to feed the content that I put out, right? Because I'm not doing it necessarily for myself. Of course, there is a return on investment for YouTube and assets and all these things. But at the same time, this content is something that needs to be relevant to you all who are listening. Like, I can't just put out things, or I could, but nobody would listen or nobody would watch. But my major purpose is to engage with you all and really alleviate some of your struggles. Emphasis on struggle security. So, oh no, I didn't catch it though. It's cool. I didn't catch it. So we good. We good. Corey said, currently studying Splunk for fundamentals course so I can understand SIM. Does anyone have any tips oh man, y'all, listen, y'all coming in with the questions at the end of the stream. I have to start at two. I have to start at one too. I know that there are several. So I'm looking. Listen. I'm looking at this. So I might be a blue team level 1 certification advocate in a minute, because this thing is literally talking what all of you are talking. So I'm seeing some things here. So check this out. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit. Some things that they're talking about here are using a SIM platform to investigate malicious activity. That's literally directly what you're talking about here. Log and network traffic analysis, performing digital forensic to collect, conducting threat actors, right? So all these tools, so boom, right? So you mentioned SIM tools. So you're looking at Splunk, but these are also some other SIM tools that are extremely important. So here, let me put the link down here in the chat for you. I'm gonna just put Corey. I'm gonna just put Corey here. And that is the link to this here. But these are all very relevant tools. Let me kind of just give a little bit of a slight little intro to some of these tools. So Autopsy, I know that's a forensics tool. Browser history capture, that's a really good one too. Browser history viewer, because one thing that happens is that when you are looking for where bad guys have gotten in, you're looking for evidences of where some of that activity has occurred. I haven't used Deep Blue CLI before. Domain Tools is another one. Event Viewer, huge. Event Viewer. FTK Imager. FTK Imager is really good. I would say here, Corey, I would say, hey, take a look at this link. Look at these tools that are mentioned here and just go down the list, because the tool that you just mentioned, Splunk, is in here too. But even like Snort, Sigma rules is a detection. So it's just like Sigma, and there are a lot of other type of logs and rules to detect malicious activity. Suricata is a really good tool. I wonder, do they have? They got a lot of tools, man. I think I'm very much going to do a deep dive into this, because they have a very good comprehensive list, and this is what Maddox was talking about too. Cape is another one, and Try Hack Me has a whole room for Cape and a lot of these other tools. So I would even say, Corey, take a look at Try Hack Me, and then put some of these tools within there, and they'll probably have tutorials for you understanding how to use these tools in the real world. Oh man, so many people are coming in now. Welcome everybody. Yeah, thank you all for being here. What's up, Keep It Techie? Welcome, man. Yeah, welcome through. I have to pause with the Ukraine talk. Yeah, they're not putting that warning on people's content anymore. They used to, but they don't put that on there anymore. Chief Nadez, yeah, welcome to the chat. I said I did some of the security blue team courses. It is also good to get some understanding of networking. 100%. You're right on. Splunk is the granddaddy of them all. It definitely is. Blue team level 1 and labs for the position and cert will be nice. 100%. So I'm getting some agreements here. You know, the labs are free for the blue team level 1 courses. The security blue team courses. Okay. That's another good thing. Maybe we'll do some of those labs during some of these live streams. Yeah, I would have had a lot of great things on Blue Team Level 1 as well. Okay, boom. Corey says, thanks anytime, man. Salute to Keep It Techie. All facts, free game. Salute everybody saying hello. Game over. Are those are all those? No, these are not all sniffer tools. I know that. Let's see. Wireshark can definitely be used as a sniffer, even though it's not preferred. Man, I'm telling you, PowerShell is just, there are so many different capabilities within PowerShell that are even way beyond network and system administration. PowerShell can be used to get forensic images off of machines. It can be used to evaluate for threats on devices. Let's see, what other are sniffer tools that I'm seeing? I'm not seeing a whole bunch of sniffer tools. I think Cape can be used as like a forensics tool. But some other sniffers I would say would be T-Shark. If you're looking for sniffer tools, T-Shark. T-Shark, what's another one? What is that one? TCP dump is another sniffer tool. But there are several others. I think even Metasploit can be used as a sniffer too. FTK Imager can be literally used to replicate images of machines for offline analysis. There's so much, man. There's so much here. There's so much here. But I think that this looks good. This definitely looks good, that list. So to everyone, and please hit the like button. Please hit the like button as you all are coming in. And yes, don't forget your Linux game. Linux, networking, a lot of this stuff is very valuable. But I mean, I'm sorry to end the show so quickly and abruptly, but I gotta go. But thank you all for being here. Thank you all for coming through. We will look at this because we talked about growth versus stagnation. We cover certs, right? Don't just go chasing certs for certs purposes, but you want to chase the certs that will align with what you're looking at going from a career. Another one that we went over, growth versus stagnation, was jobs. Because stagnation can look like staying in a dead-end job for years and years and not growing, but it can also look like going from job to job to job, moving laterally, burning bridges, and not finishing projects. Those are examples of stagnation within job seeking and job searching. But growth is setting clear goals for why you have chosen a particular job and pretty much mapping out what accomplishments and impact you're looking at creating there before leaving. And then the last one was that tech seniority and giving advice, is that just because you've been in a role for so many different years doesn't mean that you're right. Years does not equate to correctness, but rather growth in that would look like you being malleable and inclusive of ideas that are important and things that can lead to a solution. Because typically a little bit of one person's ideas combined with a little bit of someone else's ideas can result in the real solution. So, and then we started to get into content creation. People are stagnant in content creation, not really growing, but wanting to give all the advice. So, we got into a lot of that. But next time, I think that we're going to go over that Blue Team Level 1 cert, because I haven't done it, but it looks like they have a lot of good offerings there. Let's see. Before I get out of here, peace. Do you recommend organizations to join? Oh, man, brother Michael, that is a great question, but we do not have enough time to cover it. We'll try to cover it in the next live stream. Come back for the next live stream for that. No, it's all good, Octavius, man. Listen, anytime. Thank you for coming through. You always come through. Thank you for even coming through at the end. And the playback is always available too for you. And Game Over said, Gabe, got you time telling us a bedtime story. It's all good, man. It's all good. But yeah, come back for next time. This is Struggle Security, where we are normalizing struggling in cybersecurity. Thank you all for coming through. And we'll be back again, like I mentioned, Monday or Tuesday. We're going to follow it up. Blue team level 1, what to do on your first couple of days or first couple of weeks as a security operations center analyst. And then we're also probably going to look at something as it concerns organizations that you need to consider when you're trying to jump into the field. So we're going to talk about all of those different things in the next live stream. Hopefully, we might have to break them up a little bit, but thank you all for coming through, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks.